pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, before our meeting this evening, we did have an executive session to discuss some personnel matters. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So we don't have a special presentation, so we'll open it up to public comment. To recognize a resident or a taxpayer of the Sarah Area School District wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter of concern or interest properly raised in a public session. Please give your name, address, and subject of the content you will be addressing, and it's requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Moreover, please note that comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of this meeting. So on that note, we'll open it up for some public comment at this time.
Is the microphone on? Can you hear? Is the microphone on?
I didn't think it was.
No, I don't think they are.
Check mine. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Tap the screen.
Bottom right hand corner, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, any public comment before we go into our meeting this evening? Okay.
Michael Shaw, Sarah Perkins Street. I was reviewing the list of bills for the month. This is the second consecutive month that I've reviewed the bills that I've been looking for, and I've been looking for some transparency. And I'm not figuring out how our superintendent gets $811 this month and $700 last month for transportation. That's a lot of mileage. 1,400 miles one month, 1,200 miles another month, depending upon what the transportation bills are. So my point is some of the bills say paid for this or paid for that, but the public doesn't really know what it's for. So I was wondering about that. And some of the other questions I had last week, I asked if someone would consider answering some of the questions that the public would like to know the answers to. And maybe I'm the only one that's dumb enough to come up and ask the questions, but it's important to our community, it's important to our students. Additionally, you're going to have the second reading, or maybe it's the first reading of the public comment section. I know last meeting there was some discussion about not having a second one. And there was some things said after the public comment segment at the last meeting, some things that probably could be brought up again, and we wouldn't have an opportunity to talk about them. For example, if you bring up something tonight, we might not have a chance to talk about it again if you do not allow us to have a second comment section. For example, you talked last meeting about a secretary from the Snyder School that was going to retire or leave. And everybody gave her kudos and truly deserves those kudos. But Mrs. Brown's comment was there was a lot of things that you could go back and review the minutes, a lot of things that she helped me with that were important, all these little things, the comments she made. They're the little intangibles that we're talking about when we talk about outsourcing, our cafeteria workers, and our custodians. There's lots of intangibles that you don't see on this piece of paper when you're going to do that. I also understand that maybe an agreement has been reached with the custodial staff and the cafeteria workers. If that's true, I'm glad to hear that. But there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered as to what's going on in our school board. Just don't pay the bills because it says let's pay them.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Anyone Anyone else wishing to comment this evening? All right, if there's no other comments, we'll go into our regular board session.
Excuse me, Mr. Poland, can speak?
Sure, go ahead. Come on up, please, Michelle.
I'd like to address this to you, Mr. Cole, and Mr. Hadlock from the meeting a month ago. When Mr. Hadlock interrupted me and said my time was up. You're in charge of the time, right, not him? So I would like to know why he said that my time was up that night. Mr. Hadlock?
I was asking Ron if the time was up.
No, that's not what you said. You sent me an email apology the next day, right?
Just stating the fact that I should have let you keep talking if you felt that we were getting somewhere with the conversation. Yes, sir.
Thank you, because Mr. Cole is the president of the board, correct?
I understand that, but I wasn't addressing you directly. I was addressing the board at large, stating his 3 minutes were up about 6 minutes ago.
I disagree totally that you weren't directing it at me.
Okay.
And if so, why would you send me an email apology? And the time doesn't run when you guys are answering. The time runs when we're speaking. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you have the timer, not him, right? And he said he was answering for someone else. I think the adults that he was trying to answer for can speak for themselves.
Okay. Jimmy, and again, my apologies. I probably should have, I should have probably been the timekeeper on that. My apologies to you as well.
Okay.
And again, I'll apologize for the board as well, so.
All right, thank you. And then I would like to address
Okay.
Ms. Huey. We're talking about truth and honesty and transparency. That's what she said at the meeting 2 meetings ago, right? You read a statement? Okay. So I have a couple questions. Is the merger study completed yet between Sarah and Athens?
At this point, I would say, Mr. Shaw, that we do have the draft of it, and is it fair to say that we will be meeting here very shortly on it? Within probably this week.
So there's no timetable to release it to the public?
Hopefully we'll have it done so that we can release it to you very, very, very soon.
So it's a draft, not the final product?
We're going to be taking a look at the draft right now. We do have the document, so, and again, we will be meeting as far as what is in the document, where we'll have a question and answer session as well for those folks.
Okay.
Okay?
Have we released the figures for what it would cost to upgrade our 2 schools here in Sarah?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Have we released the figures, what it would cost from the facility study that was done 2 years ago in February, what it would cost to upgrade the facilities at our 2 schools? Have we released that publicly yet? I asked about it at 2 meetings ago.
Okay, Dr. Delosio is going to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
So that was put on the website, and even at the transfer of the website to Apogee, it is on the website, and it has been on the website.
The dollar amounts on there?
If the company had the dollar amounts in there, the entire document that was given to us by the company that did the feasibility study 2 years ago is on our website.
I'm aware of that, but I asked at the last meeting, and you said that you would post it on the website what the dollar figures would be. Mr. Hickey brought up about there's 3 tiers, correct, Mr. Hickey?
Yeah, the dollar amount's there, that's what she said. It's
Okay, why can't we just say it in a meeting here now? We're talking about honesty, openness, and transparency, but can't get an answer.
When that report came out, we had a meeting with the architect of that report that went through it line by line and explained that's 2 years ago.
I understand that, and for 2 years, the public of the Sarah School District does not know what it would cost in millions of dollars to upgrade our 2 schools.
You have that in mind. I haven't checked, but it's online, the cost as
Well, that's an easy for you to say online. Why can't we say it here? That's my question.
I did say, I just did.
What's the dollar figures?
I don't know, it's in the report.
Okay. Okay. And I would also ask you, Mr. Cole, there was 2 speakers at the meeting on April 22nd, and Mr. Hadlock openly mocked him while he was sitting at the table up there. If he doesn't want to be here at the meetings, maybe he should resign from the board. He knows who he mocked, and he openly mocked 2 citizens, residents, taxpayers of this school district that spoke that night. That's unacceptable. Thank you.
Just what he talked about is why we need to have a second comment portion. Because somebody else would bring something up and we need answers to those questions. And you can talk about mocking someone or whatever. I saw 2 board members shake their head again when that happened. You know what? Yeah, maybe you don't want to hear us complain, but at least respect us. I'm respecting you folks when I come here and tell you the issues in our school district, and there's a lot more. But I get 3 minutes. And I have been professional enough to meet with Mr. Catrini and Dr. Delosio on 2 separate occasions to try to settle some of these things before they come to the public. I'm not here to make the Sarah School District or anyone look bad. But when you ask for something and don't get it, it becomes frustrating. Okay? So call me the bad guy if you will, but I am always respectful to you folks. Okay? And I don't appreciate being mocked either.
Any other public comments? Okay, we'll continue on with the meeting this evening. We'll start with the consent agenda. Number 2, with the minutes. We recommend that the board approve the minutes as presented on May the 2nd of 2024. Also, from number 3, in the instruction, motion to approve field trip request as presented. Letter B, from the memorandum of understanding, a motion to approve an MOU between the Sarah Area School District and the Brantford Tioga Head Start Incorporated as presented. Letter C, the affiliation agreement. Motion to approve the affiliation agreement between the Sarah Area School District and the St. Bonaventure University to provide clinical placement for School of Education students from St. Bonaventure University as presented. Also, letter D, transportation plan. A motion to approve the transportation plan between the Sarah Area School District and Brantford County Children and Youth as presented. Letter E, the Sarah Area School District graduating class of 2024. Motion to approve the senior list for the 2024 graduation pending completion of all graduation requirement as presented. Number 4, athletics. Motion to approve the athletic personnel as presented. Down to number 5, finance. Motion to approve the transfers as presented. Letter B, the treasurer's report. Motion to approve the treasurer's reports as presented. Cafeteria, capital projects, federal programs, and general fund. Letter C, Berkheimer tax report. Motion to approve the Berkheimer tax report as presented. Letter D, authorize official resolution. A motion to approve an official resolution that the Sarah Area School District request a public school facility improvement grant of $2 million for the Commonwealth Financing Authority for the plumbing systems accessibility projects as presented. Letter E, the school solicitor and labor attorney agreement. A motion to approve the attorney at law, Christopher Lance, as school solicitor and labor attorney at an hourly rate of $160 for the 24-25 school year, which begins July 1st, 2024. Also, letter F for end of the year. Motion to approve Mr. Barry Claypool as business manager to be authorized to make the necessary year-end budget transfers in preparation for the annual audit. Letter G, annual authorization to take action in special circumstance, meaning to motion that we approve the superintendent to be authorized to make arrangements for position restructuring and the employment of personnel necessary for the 2024-25 school year to assure continuity in the provision of school district services and to prevent unnecessary engagement of students and staff and or damage to school property, subject to school board review and action at the first official board meeting following that employment. Then we go down to number 6 for personnel under employment. A motion to approve the district personnel requests as presented. Letter B, uncompensated leave request to approve Mrs. Kelly Schweiger, high school secretary's request for 1 day of uncompensated leave on that is May the 31st, 2024. Number 7, policy, the first reading of District Policy 903, Volume 1, 2024. Public comment in a board meeting as presented. And that's it for our consent agenda. We have a motion and a second.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Questions and comments?
Barry, on the grant, what, do we have any understanding what the pools of resources are, and how many are anticipated to go forward?
They didn't really say. They put a maximum, I think, of 5 million per grant award, and I think this one was the one that had 100 million up, so, you know, it could be anywhere from hundreds to 20.
And what did we specifically target in the grant?
We specifically targeted taking our bathroom, one set of bathrooms, so down at the science wing here, and then at Snyder by the gym where a couple of those locker rooms are, and make those one stall bathrooms, and make like 7 or 8 of those, however many we can get in the space, so they're handicap accessible, et cetera.
Any other questions or comments?
With your permission, I'd like to introduce the new professional staff that was able to make it tonight. Janine Garrison is coming to us from the Wyalusing School District. Is Janine in the, no, she is there, even stand. So welcome, Janine. Once the board makes a, approval at the end. So Wyalusing School District with 5 years experience coming to us to be the K-6 emotional support teacher. Thank you for coming this evening. Colby Sangre, did I say that correctly, sir?
Yes.
So currently working at the Southern Tioga School District with 4 years experience at the high school math level, coming to us in his 5th year. And Casey Sutton. Casey spent time here in the Sayre Area School District this past year under the guidance of Rachel Baird as her student teacher, cooperating student teacher in 1st grade. And I see Mrs. Skirpon in the back, who was just your next door neighbor. So she'll be coming into the Bachelor Step 1. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
You come on up first, right?
And Ron, I think in the first reading, just because we had the discussion here relative to a second public comment, the policy enables the board to include a second public comment where it's appropriate.
Okay.
Your discussion, that's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Skirpon.
Is Ms. Sauer here? Did Jen make it this evening?
No,
She was unable to make it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If that's the case, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
Greg? Can Congratulations to the three of you. All right, now let's.
Now,
All right. Okay, going to our roll call items in accordance to section 404 of the Public School Code, the Board of School Directors shall, during the month of May, elect a treasurer to serve 1 year beginning the first day of July for such an election, 1-year term from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. Do we have any nominations for the board treasurer at this time?
I'll nominate Andrew Hickey.
Nomination for Andrew Hickey, second,
Second.
and a second. Any others? Okay, then, if that's the case, we'll roll call this. Mrs. Jacob?
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew,
Yes.
Mrs. White. Yes. Mr. Hadlock,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet,
Yes.
Mr. Petrini,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
yes.
Mr. Skirpon,
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes. One down.
Ron, you want to talk to the function of the treasurer? Just so that the public understands the function of the treasurer for the board?
Sure, sure. Want to?
I'd be happy to.
Oh, go
So,
ahead.
the function of the treasurer to the school board oversees the finance committee meetings, he attends those meetings, he sets those with Mr. Claypool. Those meetings are all open to the public and they are on our website for those to attend. Typically, we hold one, Mr. Claypool, I'm just gonna make, like, in the fall, and then once January starts, they're almost monthly or bi-monthly, and then once April comes, it's every single month. They work through the process, they also work with the auditors, gets to sign off on components of the financial piece, so it's the oversight to what the business office does.
Yeah. No administrative role, but
No
oversight
administrative
role.
role, no paid position, it is just to
Oversight.
watch the oversight of the finance, the business office.
Letter B, to approve the bills as presented in your packets. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Questions or comments on the bills?
Jill, will you just elaborate, given Mr. Shaw's question, just about the transportation expenses that are listed, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the travel reimbursement is not always just mileage. Sometimes it could be for hotel and or food expense. Those always get approved prior to by the board before my travel most of the time. There is a periodic time where something might come up from PASA or PSBA that, you know, I reach out and you want me to attend and I go to those. All of those are within the budget that is set by the district, by the board. In June the year before, and I have that amount, and I don't go over that amount that's been approved by all of you. So in June, well, right now, the proposed budget, it would be listed in there, and so if you want to alter that or change that, you have that right to do so within the next several weeks and days before that final budget comes forward. So I usually make a proposal, just as everyone else does, with their budget, and so like, for example, in my budget, I might have something for books to purchase, travel expense of attending a conference, what that mileage might be, what the registration fee might be. Sometimes it's replacement equipment, so there's several different things in there. I mean, I can give you a detailed list of what those are at the next meeting, along with the total amounts of those as well, if that's something you'd like to have. But then once I return from the conference, then I turn the paperwork in to Mr. Claypool before then it comes to you. And he verifies if it's within the amount that have been approved or not approved. Okay?
Any other questions or comments? We need roll call?
Yes, we do.
Yes, okay. Mrs. Pacheco, roll call,
We'll
please.
begin with Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mr. Hadlock,
Yes.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet,
Yes.
Mr. Petrini,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon,
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew,
Yes, except I abstain, I never voted.
Mr. Cole.
Yes. Okay, now down to number 9, discussion on the ELA curriculum. Any questions or comments on that? Dr. Delosio.
Mrs. Agnew, with your permission, I'll take that for the curriculum committee. Okay, and please chime in. So last week we met as a curriculum committee. We did have an elementary teacher attend that meeting. Administration is there. That also is an open community meeting. So I would say that a few months ago to the board, several months ago actually, it was closer to the January, February mark, I had connected and met with a few of our elementary teachers. And if you're watching some of the components that are happening at the state level, you know, the science of reading train is coming down that track. I would say to all of you that Sayre is ahead of the game. So as I look out and I see Mrs. Romberger there, she's been through 2 years of letters training already. And I know that along with K-2 and special area teachers have gone through that. So we're ahead of the game in that arena. They've had all that training and now they're asking for materials that would connect to the science of reading, that we would move our district forward prior to the state requiring that we believe is coming in 2 or 3 years. So after having conversation with teachers and them wanting to have decodables and those components that they need to have in their hands to teach our students, we came back to the table, had some conversation around that, and as the board knows and the community knows, we had been all year piloting math programs. K-8, 9-12 was looking at components, and so that was what was set in our curriculum cycle for this year. When we reached out to the feds for our ESSERS money, we were able to utilize that money for our math curriculum due to it being connected to learning loss for our student body. We currently have in the bucket from ESSERS at 3 that needs to be spent by the end of September of this school year, approximately $143,000 and change. That bucket is specific for learning loss and other components for resources for our educators. So I did take the time to go over and I met with the K-2 team in March, late March, and we had a conversation, a pretty open conversation. We talked about, one of the things that we've been dialoguing about is the hours of the day, and that's a little separate from the ELA curriculum, how we increased hours a day after COVID, and some of our kiddos are very tired. Most of our kiddos are tired by the end of the day. We're looking to adjust that at both the elementary level and the high school level. But additionally, I was over there and having conversation with the teachers and said, I could go to the board and have that conversation about those ELA curricular materials, but it's a heavy lift. The teachers are already poised and ready to lift a brand new math curriculum, K-8. And that's a lot to do on a massive new curriculum. And we have our first session this Friday for 3 hours in the morning to give them a little bit of information prior to the start of school next year with that curriculum. And did the 5 pallets of the math curriculum arrive? Thank you, Mrs. Morrell. So what we did was we reached out and I found 2 different curriculums that were sent to me as connected to science of reading. So Mr. Handrick was charged with looking at consumer reports for education. The teachers got books in their hands to look at. There were 2 different ones, CKLA and Into Reading. And if they had any other ones they wanted to bring in, we were willing to go and get those and bring those to the district as well for them to look at. I gave time and then I met with grades 3, 4, and 5 because 6 to 8 already has something new within the past few years. And so we met with 3, 4, 5 and had the same conversation around that, and I wanted them to have time. So I went back and met, it would have been the Wednesday before the spring fling. Yes, Amy's shaking her head, so I appreciate that. It was the Wednesday before the spring fling. And so I said to the teachers, we kind of need to have a consensus. We can't have several different curricular components at the different grade levels. And so I said, the first question is at the table, do you want to lift both math and ELA at the same time? And if you don't, that's fine with me. No criticism, we're just going to go ahead and move forward. But knowing they've had the training and knowing what's coming from the state, every K-2 teacher said, yes, we'd like to go with the ELA curriculum. And 3 to 5 said the same thing. So there was a consensus on that to, yes, if you can get it, bring it forward. So then I said, I want you to take the time to take a look at both of them and to try to decide, is it CKLA or is it Into Reading or is it another one that I haven't heard of and we didn't have any other ones come forward. Consumer Reports brought them back both fairly equal to the science of reading, as well as the PA standards. There'll still be some supplemental components our educators will need to do, but I have faith that they'll be able to do that without any problem with the teaching staff that we have here at Sayre. So 5 of the 6th grade levels selected CKLA and 1 selected into reading. So we're not bringing one forward right now, but we're going back and having some conversation this coming Friday, just a dialogue about what was it about the online resources? What was it about the teacher resources? What was it about the student resources, so that we can bring a potential idea back to the board, and then we would utilize that 143 that would be ESSER's money for that if the board would approve that. So I just wanted to open that up for discussion to the board. If you have any questions for me or information you'd like me to ask to take back to the K-5 team on Friday, I'd be happy to do that. So I just wanted to share that. I did share it at the curriculum meeting. Deb, do you have anything that you would like to add? Did I hit all those points that we, Mr. Handrick, as you prepared that document, was there anything else that we missed? Okay. Yes. It is, and I will say it's comprehensive in the sense that it is reading, writing, listening, speaking, phonics. It does have that writing component that we're looking for that we don't currently have, that the teachers are eager to get their hands on. So just wanted to share that. Any questions? Okay, all right. So that may be coming back to the board in June for a possible vote. Okay. And our cycle would be out of order then, I will say that. We'll have to go in and massage that.
All righty, thank you, Dr. Delosio. Letter B, the discussion and selection of contract services for custodial and cafeteria department. Dr. Delosio, I'm going to ask about the union's proposals as far as where we are with the contract services in this realm here.
Sure. So I met with union leadership both on May 3rd and then again on May 6th about the proposals that they put forth, and I will give you the written proposal in the sense of what it is they were proposing, and I'm going to lean to my left and ask Mr. Claypool to give the amount of savings each of those would have, just so I have the right amount, because I know that he pulled that information. So the first proposal was to reduce the custodial staff by 1 individual, keeping everything else as is, with PSERS benefits and moving forward, and no contract services from that. Mr. Claypool, what would the savings be on that?
It depends on the type of health insurance chosen, but if it was a person with single health insurance, it would be about $60,000 in savings, and if it was a family health insurance, it would be $82,000 roughly.
82, you said, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the range for a year would be $60,000 to an $82,000 range. The second proposal that we received from the Support Association was to reduce the custodial staff by 1/2 person and keeping all else the same. What would the cost savings on that be, Mr. Claypool?
For cafeteria, it's less because
I'm sorry, sir, I'm still on custodial. So would it be the same because a halftime, so it would be reducing from 10 custodial to 9.5, would that?
So it would reduce it by, well, it depends on whether or not it'd be a benefit eligible position. If it wasn't a benefit eligible position, it would be $35,000 roughly. Sorry, I didn't pull the number exactly for every half.
And I think that was part of the proposal, that would be the only amount of hours that would need to be below the benefit component. And then the third proposal they gave was to reduce the hourly rate increase for the 24-25 school year from 50 cents an hour to 25 cents an hour.
Yeah, that was roughly 5,000.
So then the proposal for the cafeteria staff was to reduce the cafeteria by 1, and then a second position upon a resignation.
Okay, so for each cafeteria staff, it's less because they work less hours, so it would be roughly $20,000
hearing. So the two,
ATS.
yes,
Okay.
so the two companies that you
So-
know were the night of the public hearing?
Okay,
Thank you.
so the one was ATS Facility Services. They came in at $434,425 for year one, $441,456 in year two, and $448,487 in year three. The second bid was Interstate. Their year one bid was $502,937. Their year two bid was $513,000. Their year three bid was $523,260.
And then the cafeteria proposal from Nutrition Group, sir?
The proposal from the Nutrition Group was more done in the realm of savings as opposed to total cost, and that ended up being somewhere in the $60,000 to $80,000 savings area.
Sir, is that annual or for all 3 years?
That was the annual.
Do we have any more questions or comments in regards to this issue?
Mary, I was gonna say, was the union, the savings there, that annual as well, Mary? When you were talking
Yeah,
about
the union savings was annual.
And was the starting rate pay drop part of it, or its own separate?
The starting rates from the bids that we got and what we're currently paying were pretty close, so there wasn't really much to factor in there in terms of savings from a salary perspective. It was mostly benefit users, those kinds of things.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, if that's the case, then, again, please listen, that I'd like to make a motion to approve the ATS to potentially contract custodial services. Again, it's a potential that, for the contract of custodial services. It's not final, so do we have a motion to approve the ATS to a potentially contract for custodial services?
Make a motion.
Have a motion? You have a motion on the floor. No second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a second. Questions and comments?
Ron, understand, so that there's, I guess, clear understanding of this motion. Fair to say, maybe I'm talking personally for myself at this point, others can weigh in. Personally interested in continuing a relationship with the support staff. I think procedurally, we need to get to the point where we, the board, have identified the alternate path if we can't come to a resolution with the support staff. So procedurally, what we're doing this evening, if we move forward with this, if we vote in the affirmative on the motion that's on the table, all we are saying is we've now segmented or identified ATS as the source that we would go to in the event that we cannot come to a solution with the support staff, which is our primary, or at least me personally, primary objective.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Luchego, could we get a roll call, please?
Yes, so we'll begin with Mr. Hadbuck,
No.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mrs. Clement,
No.
Mr. Petrini,
No.
Yes. Was it five?
5-4, no.
Good.
5-4, no. Thank you. Okay, we'll do this one next, okay. Our next motion is to approve the nutrition group to potentially, again, contract for cafeteria services. We have a motion and a second.
Ron, before we go to that, why don't we, I mean, include the other, why don't we put a motion on the table that we're done? Right, because, basically, we haven't really concluded on the approach to outsourcing or not. Why don't we put a motion on the table that specifically says, we as a board are not gonna pursue outsourcing any further? I don't think what we've said did that. I mean, we are gonna work some more, but, I mean, why leave it hanging? Because I think what we basically just, the vote is again leaving it hanging.
I'll put a motion to close the process of, outsourcing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, Mrs. Lucheko.
We'll begin with Mr. Hickey.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet.
Yes.
Mr. Petrini.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa.
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Mrs. Black.
Yes.
Mr. Hadley.
Yep.
Mr. Cole.
Yes. Okay, we'll continue on. Motion to approve the nutrition group to potentially contract cafeteria services. Do we have a motion and a second?
This is to maintain their current role.
Would it be? It would be,
Then we just
It
don't
is.
manage.
Then we do custodial.
we just did the custodian. This is for the nutrition group once again. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
We have a motion. Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Questions and comments?
Just speak, I don't know why I'm speaking so much, but, given specifically segmenting the cafeteria staff, the savings, on the table, are fairly insignificant given the updated proposal by the support staff. So, I think they provide a good path forward.
Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Lucheko, another roll call.
We'll begin with Mrs.
Can you elaborate just?
Restate the motion, please.
Okay, again, the motion is to approve the nutrition group to potentially contract cafeteria services.
Thank you.
So if, then again, if there's the view that we're going to move forward in the same manner based on the dialogue, then I would just, why go through two motions? Why don't we just, alter the motion appropriately?
Okay, I agree. I agree.
With that,
We can,
Do you have to withdraw the first motion?
Either way, if you
So
voted no.
I'd like to make a motion to,
You have to vote on this one first, you have a motion. on the
okay,
table.
let's, okay, Mrs. Lucheko, get a roll call on the latest motion.
All right, we'll begin with Mrs.
now, I guess we can do a motion to close, the negotiations for, the outsourcing of our cafeteria services. So we have a motion and a second.
A motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Another roll call, Mrs. Luchenko.
We'll begin with Mr. Petrini,
Nope.
Mr. Root,
No.
Wait, hold on.
Wait. Sorry, yes, sorry.
Can you reread the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Read it again.
Again, this is a motion to stop the negotiations.
No longer pursue, this is a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ron, this is a motion to no longer pursue.
A motion, yeah, a motion to close the outsourcing of the cafeteria services.
Second.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, now we got it straight. Okay, Mrs. Luchenko, please.
we'll begin with Mr. Petrini,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Skirkon,
Yes.
Mrs. Angus,
Yes.
Mrs. Blythe,
Yes.
Mr. Hadlock,
Yep.
Mr. Hickey,
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes. Okay. High school principals report. Mrs. Yu.
Good evening, everyone. Our Keystone testing wrapped up today here at the high school. We'll have makeup exams for the remainder of this week. I just wanted to say thank you to all the teachers and staff that helped that process to run so smoothly. We had our senior awards ceremony last Wednesday evening. It was wonderful. We had many community members that came out to present scholarships and awards to our very deserving seniors. Over $44,000 was awarded that night to our students, which will help them to enhance their future in many ways. Our May Artist of the Month is Jaden Smith. Thank you to Stonehouse Retirement Income Planners for displaying Jaden's artwork this month and honoring him with a gift card to Celebrations. And I'm happy to announce that this partnership with Stonehouse will continue into next year, so you will continue to see Mrs. Koopman's selections each month from the high school. We will have yearbook distribution tomorrow, so parents, those yearbooks that you ordered should be coming home tomorrow evening with your students. Just earlier this evening, we held our senior recognition for athletes and marching band members. So thank you to the families who came out to celebrate our students and to the coaches and staff that came to make the night special. Senior finals, believe it or not, begin tomorrow, and that will be taking place over the next 3 days. So just a reminder, seniors need to leave their laptops with their final proctor or down in the main office, or they can take them directly up to the tech office before they head off into the sunset. Our tech department will be wiping the laptops clean, figuratively, not really with Clorox wipes or anything, although we probably should at this point. And then seniors will get them back the night of graduation, and they get to keep those laptops. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Mrs. Ely. Mrs. Morrell. Snyder.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd just like to announce, Mr. Cole, get your calendar out, 6th grade promotion, May 31st at 9 a.m. in the Snyder Auditorium. We look forward to seeing everyone there. The ceremony will last approximately 1 hour. Field trips, we've had several, and it's my pleasure to announce that the classes that come back have been complimented while they visited out on those field trips on their exceptional behavior. So thank you to the teachers and the students for remembering your manners both inside and outside of school. The special presentation, those groups were very busy, so we look forward to the Snyder Scoop, the Student Council, band and chorus visiting in the fall. So look forward to those presentations as well. Spring Fling, I cannot even begin to thank everyone for their help with that whole project. It was very well attended, heard lots of positive feedback. So thank you to that committee and to all the teachers, paraprofessional staff, custodians, everybody that helped with that event. The weather did hold off, but it went very well inside. So we'll learn from that as well, that we can absolutely maximize our capacity at Snyder and have that event indoors if needed. Parents and guardians, please look for those chargers, computers, computer bags. We're going to start that collection process next week. If you don't want to be charged for those things, please look under the beds, and the bookshelves, wherever they may be hidden. And if Mrs. Ely said, it probably wouldn't hurt to put some Clorox on those as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Morale.
You're welcome.
At the Northern Tier Career Center this Thursday at 9 o'clock as well as at 1 o'clock. We'll be having an awards day. If you've never been to one of those awards days down there, it's amazing to see just how much the things that the kids have accomplished. Not only that, but how much they are given as far as rewarding them with their skills and stuff at the Career Center. Sarah's graduation down there is during the afternoon hours. Again, it's at Towanda Area High School. It's at 1 p.m. if any of you are interested in attending. The NACTI results have come back. This is where the seniors do have performance written testing as well as certifications. And the performance test for these seniors was 92%. The written examination was 91%. Usually that is a very low score, usually in the 80s, but once again, it's well into the, or I shouldn't say well into the 90s, but it's 90 and above, which is excellent. And as far as being certified, 87% of the seniors are certified, so they are either competent in their skills, so they can move on in their careers that they have taken at the Career Center. So, and we've got 3 Sayre high school seniors as well in the National Tech Honor Society. Want to give a shout out to them. Faith Swackhammer, also Victor Momo, and where'd I leave off? And Tanner Green. Faith was in early childhood education. Victor in information technology, and Tanner was a welding technology student. So we congratulate those students and looking forward to Awards Day. Last item 17, Mrs. Agnew.
Do you have any questions? That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Agnew. Committee reports. Any of the committee chairs wishing to give a quick?
I know we had a technology committee, but I unfortunately wasn't there, so.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mrs. Petrini. We do have new Chromebooks coming in for, I believe it's for the kindergarten students. For
First grade?
first grade. First grade.
So they arrived.
Yep.
They're on site.
They've arrived and are on site, and we also discussed some other informational tools that we are looking at as far as helping out the teachers as far as with their instructional as well as teaching abilities in the classroom. So they're right now on the back burner, but we do have some good Chromebooks coming in, brand new Chromebooks that we look forward that the students will be able to take and use them wisely, may I ask. So
Can I go ahead and have a few more?
go ahead.
Sure. So also at the tech meeting, they talked about the new laptops for our 7th graders that will be coming in for them. They have already arrived. They'll be ready for the start of the school year, so we have both of the elementary and the high school cycle for that technology that will be available. Mr. Ryan went over a lot of the AI tools that are both available for teachers and looking at professional development opportunities for our teachers coming in the fall, just to acclimate them to the variety of resources that are out there, the pitfalls, the concerns, and the pros for those services as well. He went over several of them while we were there. And he also talked about the Windows update that would be coming to Windows 11.
Thank you, Dr. Delosio. Anyone else wishing to make any comments on any of the committee meetings that were held this month?
Permission, I'll add the curriculum. Okay.
Please.
All right, so we also had a curriculum meeting that same evening, just before technology. Again, all of our committee meetings are open to the public, and they are on our website calendar. The curriculum committee went over, currently our staff is working on end-of-the-year assessments through Acadians and the Fontainebleau reading tests, all of those, to have those done and uploaded, and we'll have an end-of-the-year results of those for the growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year at one of our June board meetings. Mr. Hendrick will have that all laid out and ready to go. We have received word from the State Department of Education that it will be mandatory that the state assessments will be online effective of 2026. SAYER again is ahead of the game, as we already are currently doing that, so I feel good that we don't have to lift that. We did talk about the professional development survey. We sent a survey to all educators in SAYER asking them to ask if they would like any refreshers of things that we already have and what other ideas would they have for additional professional development. And there was a special one from Beth Jones about mental health and balancing life and work for educators that may want to sign up. And we had several that would do so. Those are 3 online and then a 1-day field trip for them in the fall. And so that's kind of cool that she'll be coming on site. I found her through the IU. And so I think that would be nice for educators that want to participate. That was an optional one. And so Mr. Hendrick is reaching out with the survey results to get more details. So for example, at the end it might have said, what would you like to have professional development on? And someone would write Skyward. So Skyward is our system, our student information system. So it could be anything from attendance to grading, communication with parents, reading of IEPs. So we want to make sure that we gather the right information from our educators and what specifically they would like to have available. We reviewed the entire survey results at the curriculum meeting. We talked about the ELA programming that I talked about earlier this evening. And let's see. That was it. It was adjournment. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Delosio.
I don't know if there was any other committee meetings since then. Okay.
Okay, and in the report, I just want to offer congratulations to Marco Curios, District 4 champ in the 400 meters. He will be now heading off to Shippensburg for the States, and will also be competing in the 200 meters, so we want to congratulate him. And as Mrs. Ely mentioned, Jaden Smith is our Artist of the Month for May. That's a great thing that I'm glad that they've started that for our art students, and we congratulate him. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go to the high school spring concert. I was tied up that night, but I understand they did a great job here, the band and the chorus. I was at the 5th and 6th graders, and let me tell you what, there was a lot of kids on the stage with their instruments as well as their voices, and I look forward to watching them come up through into the high school in their future years as well. Summer rec begins on June the 10th, and the pool will be open this year, so that's a good thing. Graduation for 6th graders and seniors once again. I know Mrs. Morrell mentioned that, is May 31st. I want to thank the teachers and support staff and administrators for a fine school year. And also June 26th is the Foundation Survivors Night at the Sarah Elks. That's always a good time, and it goes to our education of our students. So I want everyone to keep that in mind, as well as check out PSBA's micro courses on various subjects. Go into your My PSBA account, and they'll supply the details to you. That just came through this afternoon, so I don't really have a whole lot of details on that. Dr. Delosio.
All right. So I, like Mrs. Morrell, I'm going to kudo the Spring Fling Committee. It's always a fun event, and I enjoyed myself while I was there. So may I ask, who's the chair of that committee? Is there a chair of the committee? Mrs. Romney, okay. So I use.
There you
go.
And Mr. Rube.
I meant Mr. Rube, sorry.
We did it together. It was a joint effort.
So I really would like to compliment Mrs. Romberger on being the chair of that committee. I know you have a lot of committee members that you delegate, and they do a lot of components to pull that off. But to see what happened in that building for all those kiddos and pivoting because of the storms coming in. And I think I've mentioned your name in the last two meetings for FTA and student council, and you know, she wears a lot of hats in our district and does a lot of extras for our students, and I thank you for that. That spring fling takes a lot of work to make that happen. It does not happen by a snap of the fingers. There's a lot of phone calls. That probably starts in the fall, and the planning committee gets together periodically to make that happen. So thank you for doing that for our student body and our community, doing it in the evening so the parents can come and enjoy it as well. So recently we celebrated Teacher Appreciation, and we also celebrated our support staff, and so all of our teachers and support staff received a Thinsulate for, you know, when they go, but, you know, like home of the Redskins, so they could carry this with them wherever they might be going, or if they're stopping at the grocery store and it's a longer drive than normal to put some things in, or if they are hungry and want a heavy lunch, then that can be turned into a lunch bag if they'd like to. So wanted to share that. We've done a couple little kudos across the year for Teacher Appreciation, wanted to share that out. And then I did want to, Mrs. Ely, I wanted to ask, am I recalling that at Senior Awards Night, we announced and brought forward 3 seniors that have completed an entire year for dual enrollment of credits? Was it 3?
We did, and I announced them at the last board meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if I said their names, but I said that we had a certain amount of students.
So in
that
addition to
had
the $40-some thousand, that was $40+ thousand that was given out, we also gave a lot of cords, National Honor Society, Student Council, FBLA. There were a lot of additional components given out at Senior Awards Night in preparation for graduation, stools, tassels, cords for the students, and then Mrs. Ely brought forward 3 students that have already completed 1 full year of credits headed into college. And then there were several more students that had 15 or more credits that were leaving at graduation. And that's pretty remarkable for our teaching staff to carry those extra components and provide those to our student body. I know that any of the credits they receive from Corning are at no cost to the families, which we appreciate. In Keystone College, it was $100 per credit. And I know that you've probably seen in the news that they potentially and maybe fully be closing, but the kids who have completed the credits will receive them. And Mr. Handrick has a meeting set for tomorrow with Lackawanna so that we can move forward with another dual enrollment if Keystone is not available to us. So we'll be bringing that forward, that affiliation agreement to the board in the near future. Wanted to let everybody know that the annual Sayer Foundation event is being held on June 26th at the Elks. And if you'd like tickets to do that, I will share with you that the Sayer Foundation does 2 major things in our district. Last week at the Senior Awards event, they gave out 2 $2,500 scholarships to graduating seniors. And the other thing that they do is they support our current teacher groups that send in grants. So we've had several grants be written to do something in addition to what they do in their 4 walls of their classroom. And the board votes on those and then gives the money to the teachers in order to do those extras. And so there were several grants this year that were given out by the board, and we need to do a fundraiser every year to replenish that grant money that we give out along with the scholarships. So if you have the ability to attend on June 26th, it is a fun time held by all. Mrs. Morrell can speak to that as she was the big winner last year. And so we've had a winner each year to that. It is a nice drawing. It's called Survivors Night, and there's food available, drink available, and a chance to win some money. You do not have to be in attendance to win. Tickets are $40. And members of this board that sit on the Sayer Foundation board are Mr. Hickey, Mrs. Agnew, and Mrs. Komet. So if you'd like a ticket, please see one of them. In addition, Mr. Tim Hickey and Mrs. Shelley Rapaski are also on the board, and Dr. Gina Fitzpatrick. So you can see them if you'd like to get a ticket from them. And if you want to just stop by the administrative offices, those tickets are available by my assistant, Tammy. She has them in the office as well. And then the last component, I just wanted to update the board that we are now moving into comprehensive planning at the state level. We must do that every 3 years, so I have a timeline for you. Mrs. Lachego, you don't have to write this all down, I can give it to you, but starting in June of 2024, just next month, I'll be surveying all stakeholder groups, community members, teachers, support staff, administrators, parents, and students about some things, and then in July, we'll analyze those survey results. In August, we'll share the results with the board, In August, we'll also then select focus areas and gather additional feedback on that initial information that we receive. We will have stakeholder committee groups from across all those different entities in the sense of community members, parents, students, teachers, support staff, administration, and board members. So in September and October, there will be stakeholder meetings held for that. October, we'll begin to start to write this plan, and then it will be reviewed in November and ask for feedback both from the community and the board. In December, we'll present a potential plan for all of you and then do revisions again on that with a final approval looking at April. It would sit in March for 30 days as we do in any plan that goes to the state. It has to have just like we do with the budget, we'll propose it, it'll sit for 30 days, and then it will be approved, and it has to be done by April of next year. It takes about 9 months to build that comprehensive plan. Okay? That's all I have, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's a lot.
Now I've got to ask, our next school board meeting will be on the 17th, correct?
That is correct. Does it say that?
It says June 3rd, so our next
That's not right.
school,
That's,
okay.
no, June 3rd, Monday, June 3rd.
Monday, June 3rd.
Yeah, Monday, June,
okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the second one is on the 17th.
Second
Yes, sir.
one's on the 17th,
Yeah.
okay. We only have about the 3rd we were going to move on.
No.
Okay, so the next Sarah Area School Board Directors meeting will be on June 3rd in the Junior Senior High School Auditorium, beginning at 7 p.m. So with that said, we have a motion to adjourn. Motion?
Excuse me, do we have a second comment period again?
No, but you want to,
Going to be very brief. I want to say there's a lot of good things that go on here. I know I bring negative stuff here, but there are a lot of good things that are going on in the Sarah School District. One, I want to thank the board for their effort on the cafeteria and custodial staff issue. It certainly wasn't easy. It brought out some ill feelings, but I compliment you, not because you made the decision I thought you should make, but it still was a difficult time. The fundraiser that Dr. Delosio and Mr. Cole talked about is a great thing as well. I hope my brother will buy me 2 tickets. I plan on attending. On the negative side, the mileage and transportation issue, again, another reason why we should have a second comment period is so the public has a chance to find out what's going on. If it's just listed as mileage, anybody's going to ask why. So I think it should be broken down so that people who look into this stuff will have a better understanding of what's going on. We have a treasurer now. We never had one. I'm not sure why that was, if it was something that we failed to do at the school district.
We had when I was the same,
Oh, yeah.
I've done treasurer for several years.
We just became compliant, is that it?
No, every year, Mike, it's a.
Yep.
With every year we voted on that?
Yes.
I didn't see that, okay? My apology. Where on the website can it be found about the facility study? I left to try to get online to find out what it was under. It's not very user-friendly. So I'll get somebody to maybe somebody in the staff tomorrow, I'll stop in and.
Mr. Howie has his hand up right behind you. I'm wondering if you found it.
Business office, Keystone Building Survey, it's a link right there.
So click on business.
I'll get
click
it.
on
I don't want to be late anymore.
Mr. Shaw, it's under business office, and then it says Keystone Study. Okay?
And I asked a question a couple weeks ago, and I think it's answered in the budget that I've been reviewing. We do have $10 million in long-term debt,
Yeah, like 10.5.
10 and a half. Okay, and that's something that we're gonna have to look at when we talk about consolidation, when we get to report.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, that's huge. That doesn't take into consideration the facilities upgrade plan. When I go read that, right? Okay, again, we do a lot of good things here, and I do
Yeah, so
appreciate.
like Athens has 25.
Yeah, I know, I've looked at that too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Michael. Everyone have a good evening.
I'd like to
Oh,
talk.
forget it, Barry.
Second comment.
Sorry, Doctor.
No, you're good. It's tough to see the other side. Barry Claypool, Madison Street, Sarah. I wanted to start with a couple of good things. I don't know, did you mention Exceptional Athlete Day?
I did not.
Exceptional Athlete Day rocked this year. Got to give a shout out to Athens. They put together a really good event. Our students were great. Our staff was great. I have a kid, obviously participates, but kudos, and just like you can say for just about everything. Mrs. Lamana, Mrs. Romberger, there with the student council group, just an all-around great event all day. Second thing, at the senior award ceremony, I was reading a booklet, because it's probably weird because most people probably don't do that, but there was a discussion under for FBLA, I think they were getting tassels or something like that, and it said that FBLA in the state of Pennsylvania did roughly 21,000 hours of community service last year, and here in Sayre we did over 990. So if you think about that, you know, 990, 21,000, that's like 4%, give or take. So of 500 schools in the state of Pennsylvania, Sayre did 4% of the volunteer hours. So pretty cool, pretty good stuff. Last thing I just want to mention, I was looking back at some old news articles from a few years ago, and I found since we're kind of moving into the merger study discussion here in the near future, I found a quote from our Athens superintendent, Mr. Stage, and basically it was talking about, this was at the meeting where, you know, he was talking about doing 9th through 12th in Athens and charging Sayre tuition. But he also said, if this merge study is a conversation where we find out that we are able to improve opportunities, both academically and extracurricularly, for our students and at no additional cost to our taxpayers or burden to our taxpayers, then it's the right conversation to have. So I just asked the board to remember that discussion when you guys get into the discussion of the merge study. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claypool. And on that note, I guess we're adjourned here. Thank you.